Key. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in November, wrapped in lavender paper with careful handwriting that spoke of love and loss. Taylor Swift's assistant, Andrea, had seen thousands of fan letters over the years, but something about this one made her pause. The return address read, "The Martinez family," and across the front, in gentle script, were the words, "For Taylor. From Emma's family. Please read when you have time to cry." Taylor was in her Nashville home studio, working on new melodies when Andrea knocked softly on the door. "There's something here you need to see," she said, holding the purple envelope. "I have a feeling this one is different." Taylor set down her guitar and took the letter, immediately noticing its weight, not just physical, but emotional. The careful way it was sealed, the pressed flowers tucked inside the envelope, the way her name was written with such reverence. She opened it slowly. "Dear Taylor," the letter began, "My name is Rosa Martinez, and I'm writing to you about my daughter Emma. She passed away 3 weeks ago at 17, and she left specific instructions for us to send you this letter. She spent her final months writing it, and her last wish was that, somehow, you would know her story." Taylor's breath caught. She continued reading. Emma was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia when she was 15. The day we got the diagnosis, she was supposed to go to homecoming. Instead, we were sitting in an oncology office learning words no parent should ever have to understand. The first thing Emma said, after the doctor explained her condition wasn't about being scared or angry, she said, "Can I still listen to music during treatment?" Even facing cancer, music was her first thought. Taylor felt her throat tighten as she read Rosa's words. For 2 years, she fought with everything she had. Your music wasn't just entertainment for her, it was medicine. When the chemotherapy made her violently sick, she'd listen to Shake It Off and somehow find the strength to get out of bed. When she was scared before procedures, she'd play, fearless, and walk into that treatment room like a warrior. When she wanted to remember what it felt like to be a normal teenager, she'd dance to 22 in her hospital room, bald head covered in colorful scarves, spinning around her IV pole. The letter continued with intimate details of Emma's journey that broke Taylor's heart. How Emma had lost her hair but insisted on wearing Taylor Swift t-shirts to every treatment. How she'd memorized every song, every bridge, every hidden meaning in the lyrics. How she'd written essays about how soon you'll get better, gave her permission to be vulnerable about her fear. She never missed one of your album releases, even when she was too weak to leave her bed. The day Folklore came out, she was having her worst reaction to a new chemotherapy protocol. She was so sick she couldn't keep water down, but she insisted we bring her phone and headphones. She listened to the entire album 3 times that day, crying through Ronan, because she said finally someone understood what it was like to be 17 and facing mortality. Taylor had to pause. She knew Ronan intimately. She'd written it about a little boy who died of cancer. To know that Emma had connected with that song in her own fight made Taylor's chest ache. The letter transitioned to Emma's own words, written in a teenage girl's handwriting that grew shakier as the pages progressed. "Hi, Taylor. It's me, Emma. If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it, but that's okay. I'm not sad anymore, and I don't want you to be sad either. I wanted you to know that your songs gave me courage when nothing else could. Not the doctors, not the treatments, not even my family's love, though they tried so hard. It was your voice in my headphones that made me feel like I wasn't alone in the dark." Emma's letter detailed specific moments where Taylor's music had sustained her. How Anti-Hero helped her process feeling different and damaged. How Mirrorball gave her words for trying to shine even when she felt broken. How The Moment I Knew helped her grieve the normal teenage experiences she was losing to cancer. "I need to tell you about the night I almost gave up," Emma wrote. "It was month 14 of treatment, and I just learned that my cancer had relapsed. The doctors were talking about experimental treatments, bone marrow transplants, things that scared me more than dying. I was alone in my hospital room at 2 a.m. crying because I felt like I couldn't be brave anymore." Taylor's hands trembled as she continued reading. "That's when Long Live came on my playlist. When you sang, 'Long live the walls we crashed through, how the kingdom lights shine just for me and you,' I realized something. Even if I don't get to grow old, The love I've shared, the fights I've fought, the moments I've celebrated, they matter. They're permanent. And that gave me strength to keep going." Emma's letter went on to describe her family. How her little brother Diego had learned to braid wigs for her when her hair fell out. How her dad Carlos worked double shifts to pay for treatments, but never missed a single doctor's appointment. How her mom Rosa slept in hospital chairs for 2 years and somehow still found energy to sing Taylor Swift songs with her during the hardest nights. My mom doesn't know this, but I heard her crying in the bathroom one night, begging God to take the cancer from me and give it to her instead. That's when I knew I had to fight not just for me, but for them. Your song, The Best Day, helped me understand how much my life meant to my family, and that made every painful day worth enduring. The letter revealed Emma's deepest wish. I never got to see you in concert because I was too sick, but I dreamed about it every day. I imagined meeting you and telling you that you saved my life, not from cancer, but from despair. You taught me that it's okay to be vulnerable, that sadness and joy can exist together, and that every story, even one that ends too soon, can be beautiful. Emma's final paragraphs were the most devastating. I'm not going to make it to 18. The doctors told us yesterday that the treatments aren't working anymore, and I've decided not to try the experimental options. I want my last weeks to be about love, not about fighting. But I need you to know something. I'm not dying sad. I'm dying grateful. My last request is for my family. They're going to be so sad when I'm gone. Could you maybe let them know that I'm okay? That the music lives on even when I don't? They love you too, and I think they could use some hope. I also wrote a song for you. It's called Still Dancing. Maybe someday it could help other kids like me remember that even when everything is falling apart, we can still find reasons to dance. The letter ended simply, "Thank you for being the soundtrack to my courage. Thank you for teaching me that broken doesn't mean worthless. Thank you for showing me that every emotion, even fear and sadness, can be turned into something beautiful. Love always and forever, Emma Martinez. P.S. Tell my family I'm still listening to your music in heaven, and now I finally have the voice to sing harmony." Taylor sat in her studio, tears streaming down her face. She looked at the family photo Emma had included. A beautiful teenager with bright eyes, wearing a hand-decorated Taylor Swift t-shirt, surrounded by parents and a younger brother who all shared her radiant smile despite the visible weight of their journey. There were also photos of Emma throughout her treatment, smiling in hospital beds, dancing with her IV pole, hugging her family after chemotherapy sessions. But it was the final item in the envelope that broke Taylor completely. Emma's handwritten lyrics to Still Dancing, a song about choosing joy in the face of mortality, about finding music in the silence, about love that transcends even death. Without hesitation, Taylor picked up her phone and called her management team. "Cancel everything for this week," she said through tears. "I need you to find the Martinez family in Austin, Texas, and I need a flight there tomorrow. I have somewhere important to be." The next evening, Taylor stood on the front porch of a modest house in a quiet Austin neighborhood, holding a guitar case and a bouquet of purple flowers, Emma's favorite color according to her letter. Her heart was racing as she tried to process that she was about to meet the family of a girl who had died, loving her music. When Rosa Martinez opened the door and saw Taylor Swift standing there, she gasped and covered her mouth. Behind her, Carlos appeared, and both parents stared in disbelief. "Mrs. Martinez," Taylor said softly, "I got Emma's letter. All of it. Every word." Rosa began crying immediately. "You came," she whispered. "She said you would, but I didn't believe. You actually came. Oh my God, you're here." Carlos stepped forward, his own eyes filling with tears. "Emma always said you'd understand," he said. "She said you knew what it meant to turn pain into art." Taylor was invited inside, where she met 14-year-old Diego, who was quieter than his parents, but whose eyes lit up when he saw her. The living room was a shrine to Emma's life. Her artwork covered the walls. Photos from her childhood and cancer journey sat on every surface, and in the corner stood a carefully arranged memorial with Taylor Swift albums, concert posters she'd never gotten to use, and the colorful scarves she'd worn during treatment. She never missed a release day, Carlos explained, his voice thick with emotion. Even during her worst days in the hospital, she'd make us bring her phone so she could listen to your new songs the moment they dropped. The nurses knew that Tuesday nights were sacred. Emma Swift music time, they called it. Rosa wiped her tears. The last album she heard was Midnights. She was so weak by then, but she insisted on listening to the entire thing. She said, Bigger Than the Whole Sky was written for kids like her, kids whose stories ended too soon. Diego, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. She used to say that when she met you in heaven, she'd finally be able to sing backup vocals without her voice cracking from the medicine. She practiced harmonies every day, even when talking hurt. Taylor's heart broke and soared simultaneously. She opened her guitar case. Diego, your sister wrote that she composed a song. Would you like to hear me play it? And Rosa, Carlos, would you like to hear some of Emma's favorite songs? I'd like to play them for her and for you. What followed was the most intimate and emotional concert Taylor had ever given. In that small living room, surrounded by Emma's presence, she played every song Emma had mentioned in her letter. When she sang, Soon You'll Get Better, Rosa held Carlos's hand and whispered, She's listening. During the best day, Diego smiled for the first time in weeks, remembering how Emma used to dance to it in the kitchen. And when Taylor played Long Live, they all sang along, their voices carrying Emma's memory and her unshakable belief in the permanence of love. She's here, Rosa whispered during the final chorus. I can feel her singing with us. She's probably so happy you came. But Taylor wasn't finished. She pulled out Emma's handwritten lyrics to Still Dancing and set them to a gentle, hopeful melody. As she sang Emma's words about finding joy in the darkness, about dancing through the pain, about love that transcends even death, something magical happened. The grief in the room transformed into celebration, the sadness into gratitude. She wrote those lyrics during her last week, Diego said softly. She was so weak she could barely hold a pen, but she insisted on finishing the song. She said it was for other kids who might need to know that it's okay to dance even when the world is ending. Taylor finished Emma's song and looked at this beautiful family who had loved so deeply and lost so much. Emma wrote about hope in her letter. She said, and she was right. The music does live on. I want to establish the Emma Martinez Music Therapy Fund for young cancer patients. Every child fighting what Emma fought deserves to have music as their companion, their medicine, their source of courage. The family was overwhelmed. Through tears, Rosa said, quote, She always believed you'd understand. She used to say, Taylor knows what it's like to turn pain into something beautiful. That's why her music saved me. Carlos added, She'd be so proud. She always said she wanted her life to matter, to help other kids somehow. Taylor stayed for hours, sharing stories about Emma's letter, looking through her journals, which were filled with song analysis, poetry, and dreams about the future she wouldn't see, and learning about the remarkable young woman who had fought so bravely while maintaining such grace and gratitude. She discovered that Emma had been writing regularly to other young cancer patients, sharing Taylor's songs and their meanings, creating a network of teenage fighters who supported each other through their darkest moments. She'd been a source of hope for dozens of other families facing similar battles. Would you sing Still Dancing one more time? Diego asked shyly. But this time, could we all sing it together? Emma always said the best part of your concerts was when everyone sang along. Taylor read Emma's handwritten lyrics again. These profound words about choosing joy even when facing mortality, about finding music in silence, about love that never dies. As she sang with the Martinez family, their voices blending in Emma's living room, she realized this wasn't just a song, it was Emma's final gift to the world. Before leaving, Taylor made several promises that would reshape her understanding of her purpose as an artist. Every year on Emma's birthday, I want to visit families like yours, kids who are fighting, who need to know they're not alone. We'll call it Emma's Day, and it'll be about celebrating the courage of young fighters everywhere. And I want to record Still Dancing," she continued. "With your permission, I'd like to put it on my next album, with all proceeds going to the Emma Martinez Fund." Her words, her melody, her message, they deserve to help other kids find their courage. As Taylor drove away from the Martinez house that night, she carried with her not just the weight of loss, but the lightness of purpose that Emma had given her. The teenager's letter hadn't just touched her heart, it had fundamentally changed her mission as an artist. The Emma Martinez Music Therapy Fund grew beyond anything Taylor had imagined. Within its first year, hospitals across the country had received music therapy programs, instruments for young patients, and regular visits from musicians who understood the healing power of song. The fund provided iPads loaded with music for children undergoing treatment, portable keyboards for hospital rooms, and trained music therapists who specialized in working with young cancer patients. Every year on Emma's Day, September 15th, her birthday, Taylor visited families of young fighters, carrying Emma's message that hope and music can coexist with pain, that joy can be found in the smallest moments, and that every day of life is worth celebrating. These visits weren't publicized or turned into content. They were sacred, private moments of connection and healing. But perhaps the most beautiful legacy was what happened to Emma's song, Still Dancing. Taylor recorded it exactly as Emma had written it, adding only gentle instrumentation that would have made the teenager proud. Released as a hidden track on her next album, it became an anthem for anyone facing impossible odds, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the human spirit can still find reasons to celebrate. The song's music video featured videos submitted by young cancer patients and their families, all dancing to Emma's words, proving that her message had reached exactly who it was meant to reach. The final frame showed the Martinez family, still dancing, still celebrating Emma's life, still believing in the power of music to heal. The letter that changed everything sits framed in Taylor's studio now, next to Emma's photo and a purple flower pressed between glass. Every morning before she writes, Taylor reads a line from Emma's letter. "Thank you for teaching me that every emotion, even fear and sadness, can be turned into something beautiful." Emma Martinez never got to meet her hero in person, but through her words, her courage, and her unshakable belief in the power of music to heal, she created something even more powerful than a concert experience, a legacy that continues to save lives. Her letter reminds us that we never know how deeply our words, our art, our kindness might touch someone else's life, especially when they need it most. Sometimes the most important messages come from those who know their time is limited, and sometimes the greatest gifts are left behind by those who leave too soon. Emma's music lives on, not just in recordings, but in every young person who chooses to dance through the darkness, knowing they're not alone, and in every family who finds hope in the midst of unimaginable loss.